It's officially winter, so that means I get to wear some of my favorite notes. So it could be a tobacco fragrance, a vanilla fragrance, or a tobacco and a vanilla fragrance. Let's see what we got.
I finally found what I'm missing, and now you got all my attention. Driving me wild, got me wishing that you were all mine. You're irresistible, so refreshing. You're irresistible, tell the essence. I can feel your energy all over me. Close my eyes and I breathe in. You're irresistible.
Welcome back to Carolina Fragrance Reviews. I'm your host, Cam. Make sure that you subscribe, activate that notifications bell, and follow us on Instagram at cam.byrd. If you guys haven't checked out our merch store, make sure to go down below and click this link right here. They look pretty snazzy. Lots of different choices, and we're actually fixing to add a few things. So if there's something you want to see in that merch store, be sure to leave it in the comments. Not only is tobacco my favorite fragrance note, me being from North Carolina, it just seems that maybe tobacco is just intertwined in my DNA and my roots. North Carolina has been the largest producer of tobacco in the United States for as long as I can remember. I know, like, all through growing up, it was nothing to ride by and just see fields and fields and fields of tobacco. Of course, the temperature of all that has changed. There used to be over 8,000 tobacco farmers in North Carolina. That has dropped down to like a little over 1,000 now. I've never been one to, I never smoked cigarettes. Yeah, I've tried them. I didn't care for them. I'm glad that I didn't. And yeah, it was a huge cash crop. Actually, like, North Carolina is one of the #1 producers of cannabis now. So you go from smoking cigarettes to, but you know, this is the type of cannabis they're producing for CBD because North Carolina is not a THC friendly state. So that's enough about a North Carolina history lesson. Let's get into a buttload of tobacco and vanilla fragrances. Now, some of these are designer, niche, and indie, but I am going to breeze through these because I have a lot in my collection and I still am not showing you all of them. I'm just gonna kind of breeze through my favorite ones and we'll get through it just as fast as possible. Okay, first fragrance definitely screams date night, sophistication, and romance. It is the first Kilian I ever bought. It is Back to Black. This one actually has notes of tobacco and vanilla, but it also has some cardamom, some honey, and almond. A beautiful fragrance, absolute stunner, signature scent worthy. Let's get to the next fragrance. Now the next fragrance is one that I absolutely adore. It was a Christmas present. It took a little doing to get this fragrance and you may have trouble finding it. So I'm sorry about that. These are just fragrances that I love. I think it's the only one that I have that you should, might have some problems finding, and I am talking about Slumberhouse, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. I don't know if it's Kiste or Kist or Kiste, but it's K-I-S-T-E. I love boozy fragrances, so this is booze and tobacco. It's got a deep, like dark tobacco pipe tobacco note in it. It's also mixed with some spicy peach and scotch. It has some honey in here. It's a very, very dark and thick, extremely aromatic fragrance that, wow, I just fell in love with this, but it took some doing for me to get this. I have heard that they've discontinued this. It actually was available at Lucky Scent. That's actually the first place that I smelled it. I made a purchase from Lucky Scent. It was a recommended scent. So, I don't know if you, well, I'll say how, like I'm so presumptuous, but when you buy a fragrance from Lucky Scent, you get to pick a few samples. This was one that I picked and I was like, holy cow. But when I went back to purchase it, they didn't have it anymore. So I do apologize for that, but if you are able to find it, definitely get your nose on it. Next one is 1821 Man-Made Sweet Tobacco Spirits. This one is vanilla and tobacco and it's done really, really well. This is just a company that has this one scent. I think that's all I've seen from this company, but they actually offer a cologne, body wash, pomade, beard oil, all that in this, and it is a very, Very much a manly, man's man fragrance. Has absolutely stellar performance. You definitely get like a really rich note of like pipe tobacco in here. I don't know if you've ever like opened a cigar box or been in, oh, better yet, been into like a tobacco store where they sell like pipe tobacco and really nice cigars, things like that. Anstead's is a place here. I'm not sure, you know, where all they have Anstead's, but that's a place here in Fayetteville. And I even had a cousin that used to smoke pipe tobacco, and even though I don't like people blowing smoke in my face, the scent of a pipe tobacco being burned is kind of relaxing and definitely very masculine. If you like that type of scent, you will love this one. The next one is no stranger to this channel or a lot of you out there. If you know tobacco fragrances, you're definitely gonna know the One EDP from Dolce Gabbana. This is a beloved fragrance. It does the trick. It has some tobacco, some amber, cedar, grapefruit, a few other notes. Very well put together fragrance, kind of a dressed up fragrance. I don't think a tobacco list would be complete without this gem. Next one up is another favorite that you've seen on here numerous times, and it is a vanilla fragrance. This one is Aoud Vanille from Mancera. This one has excellent projection, excellent sillage. There is something about this fragrance that is even sexy in my opinion. This one does have some floral notes in it, but for the most part, it's just kind of a sweet vanilla and very woody fragrance with, you know, just a little bit of spice in here. When you see Aoud, that is a synthetic oud. It is not an animalic oud, so this is not gonna be one of those off-putting, skanky ouds by any stretch of the imagination. It also has like some gaiac wood and some other woody notes. Definitely a very easy to love fragrance if you like vanilla fragrances. Next one up is one of two of the same brand. It is actually a vanilla fragrance. It is Un Bois Vanille from Serge Lutens. When you read the notes on this one, they don't quite make sense when you're talking about like beeswax and licorice and all that stuff, but trust me, wow, this one works. And it's highly addictive as far as what I like. It doesn't have any tobacco in it, but like I said, some of these are vanilla, some of them are tobacco, some of them are tobacco and vanilla. This is a very well put together vanilla fragrance. Now, for those of you who are wondering, I do have the newer formulation. If you know anything about this fragrance, it was a little bit darker, had a little bit better performance, but the formulation smells the same to me. This one's definitely unisex, easy to wear for a man, woman, signature scent worthy all day long, especially in the cooler months. This one's actually light enough where it can be worn year-round. Next fragrance has some leather, tobacco, cognac, some spiciness about it. It is Beat Cafe from Jusbox. I know you've probably seen this one on this channel maybe once or twice before, but I do have certain Jusbox fragrances that really work for me. This one actually was inspired by the music of Bob Dylan, like sitting in a cafe, you know how in the 50s with the red leather seats and all that. That's, you know, people smoked in cafes back then, but it's not like burnt cigarette smoke at all. It's just like very much just a spicy tobacco with a hint of leather in there. Very well put together fragrance. In my personal opinion, one of my favorite to wear this time of year. Next one up happens to be one of my all-time favorite from Tom Ford. It is Tobacco Oud Intense. And yes, that intense does mean that it has mad projection and performance. The original formulation was very good. It was just lacking in that performance and longevity. This one definitely takes the cake. I get insane performance and projection with this. And don't get me wrong, please don't misunderstand the fact that oud is in this. It's almost misleading when it says oud, just like the oud wood. It's more of just kind of like a spicy wood with vanilla fragrance. Beautiful, sexy, beastly tobacco fragrance. Next one up has tobacco, vanilla, rum, and coffee. So, yeah, it is Initio side effect. If you guys know anything about this channel, y'all know that I love my boozy fragrances, my tobacco, vanilla, you put it all together and throw some coffee in there too. Oh my gosh, yes. This is a heavenly fragrance. This one has better than average performance. It's probably one of the most beloved fragrances from Initio Parfum Privé. One of my all-time favorites for sure. It screams wintertime. It screams masculinity, in my personal opinion, even though this is considered to be unisex, as is all of Initio parfums. But yeah, I love this one a lot. Next one up is probably a fragrance that people automatically think of when they think of tobacco and vanilla together. I'm sure you know it. Yes, it is Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. This is a masculine fragrance. It is a sexy fragrance. You do need to have a certain air or swagger about you to be able to pull this off. It is not for everybody. It's spicy. There are a few notes in here that can be slightly off-putting that people do not like, but I absolutely adore this fragrance, and it is a beloved fragrance from the house of Tom Ford. Next fragrance up is a sweet, spicy, sensual fragrance that projects like a beast and is probably one of the most well-known tobacco fragrances. In the proper circles, it is Serge Lutens' Chergui. This is such a beautiful fragrance. It has notes of tobacco, it has some iris, some rose, hay, honey, just beautiful, sexy fragrance that really pops in the wintertime. Does amazing on my skin. Highly addictive fragrance. If you love tobacco, you'll absolutely love the Chergui. Next one up is another well-recognized fragrance, and it actually has honeyed tobacco, vanilla, just a beautiful DNA that is adored by many. It comes from the Amen line from Teddy Mugler. It is Pure Havane or Pure Havane. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I think the correct pronunciation is Pure Havane. This is such a beautiful fragrance. If you do not, out of any of these, if you do not own a honey, tobacco, vanilla fragrance, you definitely need this one on your shelf. Even though some of the Amen line has been reformulated, some of them don't, perform and project as well as others. I don't care. I've smelled the newer formulations, older formulations. This just does the trick. It's a sexy, masculine masterpiece. Always has been, always will be. Next fragrance up is a beloved vanilla fragrance. It's a beloved fragrance, period, from a beloved brand. It is Imaginary Authors, Memoirs of a Trespasser. There is not a vanilla fragrance list anywhere that would be complete without Memoirs of a Trespasser. There is something very comforting and inviting about this fragrance, signature scent worthy without a doubt. This one is just a woody vanilla fragrance. It has some benzoin in it. It even has the imaginary note of oak barrels. But you just whiff on this thing and it is just, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, and it is my absolute favorite Imaginary Authors fragrance. Okay, we are in the short rows now. We're down to the last fragrance. I didn't really want to do like a, top 10 or whatever. It was just, I wanted something a little bit different for everybody's taste. This is one of the most unique tobacco fragrances I've ever smelled. It doesn't have any vanilla in it, but it does have some strange notes. Remember how I mentioned licorice in the Bois Vanille? We've got licorice showing up again, and this time it's just in a tobacco fragrance. It is from a brand that doesn't get talked about a whole lot. It is Parfum de Nicolai. This one is called Cuir Cuba Intense. You get the Cuba, of course, because it is a tobacco fragrance. This one has a lot of evolution. It is anything but linear. It has some lemon in the top notes. It also has the licorice. You can smell that lemon and licorice. Then there is some lavender and magnolia in the mids. Then you get like some patchouli and cedar and tobacco in the dry down, which makes this an absolutely very unique fragrance. There's something about it that is very sexy. It also has anise in that opening note, which reminds me very much of Gold Night by Kilian. If you've not smelled Gold Night by Kilian, that anise note in the opening just makes it very unique, and some people find it very inviting and sexy. You mix that factor in with tobacco and even licorice and magnolia. Yeah, there's something very sexy about this. Beastly performance, beastly projection, and definitely gets a lot of points for being original. As far as my personal taste goes, I absolutely love tobacco. I love tobacco and vanilla, all that. So this is what I like to wear this time of year. I hope you found it informative. I hope I didn't drone on too long. And in closing, be disruptive, wear what you want, when you want, have fun. Make sure that you're subscribed to Carolina Fragrance Reviews, activate that notifications bell, smash that like button, leave some comments down below. We'll see you next time on Carolina Fragrance Reviews.